Mini Wargamer Dave here from miniwargaming.com. Welcome, Wargamers, to the Shrine of Chaos. A special guest today, Quipster. How are you today, Quipster? How are
I'm
things?
good. I'm good. I've just refreshed the mini wargaming channel so I can see the picture you were taking. Oh god, I'm glad I work in the beauty industry so my skin looks nice because that was very close up with the thumbnail.
So, for those of you who do not know Quipster, he is a prominent voice, prominent figure in the wargaming community, especially the podcast community. I'll say because that's how I got to know you. You're also a personality on DZTV. So for those of you who have seen that, have check that out. I've also included a bunch of links to his stuff, his YouTube, his Instagram in this post. So if you're watching this live or after the fact, make sure to visit him, see his stuff, give him a follow, and he just may send you some messages if you respond to his Insta stories.
It's true, honestly, it's a whole thing. So I don't know if you've ever heard of a guy called Gary V. Very big on Instagram and just like social media in general.
All right.
So we use him a lot for our business, like his just social media advice. And I was just like, you know what? I can do this on Instagram as well. And his big three things are gratitude, empathy, and patience. And like he just talks about very simple things you can do on Instagram to like help you connect with and grow an audience. Like I reply to every DM. I reply to every comment on my posts. I've met really good friends through Instagram, just from engaging with people. Like you've met Tanya, the War Mistress. We met because either I replied or she replied to a story on Instagram, and we just carried the conversation through, and now we're really good friends.
Fantastic. That's awesome. Okay, so here's a question then. What do you do when you are, you have so many followers that it would not be practical to respond to every single comment?
That is a good question because I'm actually kind of reaching that point. Like, I do just sometimes spend an hour just like replying to everyone before I like do something else or like before I go to sleep.
Right.
But I think in that case, it sort of comes down to priority. So I reply even to the people who leave who reply to a story with like a smiley face. I'll just like the smiley face.
Okay.
But I think it will get to a certain level where I have to stop doing that and only reply to people who actually leave a message.
Right.
And I think we were talking about this before, actually. I think voice messages are going to have to be a little bit more of a thing for me because you can talk faster than you can type. Yeah. So instead of... yeah, exactly. So instead of like typing everything out, literally just like leave everyone a voice note. Be like, yeah, man, sounds really good. Love what you're doing. Blah, blah, blah. So, yeah. And then beyond that, it's just a case of just picking and choosing the interesting ones. I think that's going to have to be the way forward.
Yeah, well, that's a natural evolution. That makes sense. Okay, so talking about Space Marines and Custodes, and for you collect Imperial Fists, and what was the other one again?
Custodes, more specifically Custodes of the Shadow Keepers.
Shadowkeeper, that's what it was. Okay, cool. So Imperium for sure. Any Chaos blood in you at all?
Well, it's funny you should mention this. I don't know if you've seen any of the other DZTV stuff that I've been in, but there's this kind of like famous thing with me at the moment that I'm a massive Imperium fanboy. And more than that, I refuse to paint like really fleshy things. Okay. So Nurgle's just out for me. Like I can't do it. I just hate that aesthetic. I can't get on board.
Too gross.
Yeah. Oh god. But also, this might lead into something we might talk about later. Like I have a chronic illness. I have something called ulcerative colitis, and like I've spent about 2 years of my life in like a hospital. So it's like way too close to home for me. Do you know what I mean?
That's crazy. So
tell me about it.
Okay, so I mean, now you got me really curious. Yeah, are you good talking about this? I have a bunch of questions.
Oh, absolutely.
So I don't understand this. I'm completely ignorant when it comes to what you just said and the condition that it is. I'll call it. I don't even know if it's a condition. So what was that again?
Okay. Before I start with this, actually, am I allowed to swear? Is that a thing I can do?
Not on the shrine because it's family friendly. Uh,
Damn it. Okay.
that's about as
Okay.
much as you can do.
Okay.
Oh dang! I hate to censor you, but it is family friendly. So
Totally understandable. So, I'll explain what the condition is, and then after that, I'll explain the chaos things that are going to be happening in my life quite soon. But yeah, so I've talked about this super openly on a whole bunch of things. I have a condition called ulcerative colitis. And ulcerative colitis, and it's about to get very graphic, guys, and I make no apologies for that. Ulcerative colitis is where your large intestine isn't recognized as part of your body. Mm-hmm. So your immune system attacks it. I had a very bad attack of it when I was about 13 or 14, and I had to have my large intestine removed, mm-hmm. which, as you can imagine, is not particularly fun.
Major surgery.
But yeah, a little bit. And so this is why I have a very slim waist. That and, narrow Asian hips. I get it from my mum's side. But
I can relate to that. I'm half Asian.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think we're slightly different types of Asian, but yes.
I think we are.
But yeah, so I had this big surgery. And for a while, I had something called a colostomy bag. I don't know if you've ever come across that term.
I have, yes.
Yes. So
I know exactly what that is.
Indeed. For those of you out there who don't know what this is, it's essentially a little poo bag that you have on the front of your stomach, and the end of your small intestine comes out of your tummy into that. It's a great thing for a 17-year-old to have. As you can imagine, it's not great for the confidence.
That's insane, man. Yeah.
Indeed.
How long did I go on for?
So, it being a chronic illness, you're never really cured.
Okay.
It's just so the way I look at it is that with a normal illness, it's a very finite, a very linear thing. So you're ill, and so you're fine. Say then you break your leg, you're ill for a bit, and then you're fine again.
Okay.
Whereas for chronic illnesses, it's never are you well again. It's how ill are you on the spectrum.
Okay.
Because you're always a little bit ill.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I've gone through quite a long period of being like, not that great. And since last year, I've kind of been off all medication. So I've been pretty well, to be honest, lately.
That's good.
Still get bouts of fatigue, which is a pain in the ass. Literally, because it's a bowel condition. But you see what I did there? See, clever joke. Yeah.
The old man in me being a dad, I love it.
Exactly. But yeah, I mean, this actually kind of goes into my hobby journey. This is how I got back into the hobby because so at the end of 2018, I was really quite ill. The medications that I was on at the time were, we'll say, working at about 50% effectiveness. And so I was not in a good way. I was also tired of playing on my Xbox. And one thing I think a lot of people forget, or not forget, but don't quite understand about things like fatigue is that fatigue isn't just tiredness. It's like the energy being sapped from you at all times. So you've been to the gym before. Imagine the hardest gym session you've ever done in your life and that feeling you get when you sit on the couch when you get home. You're just like, oh, God, I can't move. Mm-hmm. Imagine that, but 100% of the time.
That's crazy.
It's hard. Yeah. It's hard to do anything. And so I was feeling very fatigued. So at the end of 2018, and I was just like, you know what? I need something that I can just sit here and be ill and do. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, I realized like, I used to quite enjoy painting when I was a kid. I used to quite like Warhammer. And so I looked on the Games Workshop website and I saw that Custodes were now a playable faction. And I was just like, yep, straight in there. That's £500 I dropped immediately. And I bought an entire Custodes army, which I still haven't finished painting to this day.
Awesome. That's fewer models too, which is an interesting thing.
Oh, God, don't get me started. It's like a meme at this point, like how slow a painter I am.
Well, it's not a race, I suppose, right? But
no, it's true.
Okay, so that's as unfortunate as it is that you have this thing, I guess the silver lining is that you found something that you're able to, like, there's an outlet where you could, I guess essentially it sounds like therapy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, to a degree, it's interesting because as I've sort of come into the hobby and as I've met more people through Instagram and social media and just like being at events and stuff, one thing I've kind of come to realize, and I'd be really interested if there's anyone out there who's like a psychologist or a researcher, if they've done something on this. I'd be really interested to know like the numbers for this, but I've met so many people in this hobby with either physical chronic illnesses or mental health problems. And it seems to me that the hobby attracts a lot of these kinds of people to it. And I think a lot of it is sort of the art therapy kind of stuff. Like a good friend of mine, Reza, who's also a host with me on the Conclave podcast. We both have all kinds of like chronic illnesses and stomach issues and stuff. And he was recommended by his doctor to go and start painting because it would help him with his chronic illness. And that's how he started playing Warhammer. And I've seen a lot of that, especially with like mental health as well. That's a really big one for the community that I've seen. Yeah. I'd be interested to know your experience with this as well. Like, have you seen there's just like almost a disproportionate number of people with like mental health issues in the community?
I've definitely seen a lot. And just from noticing the comments and also messages that have come in and people that have commented on the hobby and the content and it helping them get through times that were difficult and it being cathartic and therapeutic, which is, I mean, you can relate to this being a content creator. I mean, is it your purpose to create some sort of thing to help people through this? It's really, well, for me, it's not, right? It's just, we're playing this game and we're having fun with it and we're showing ourselves play this game. So it's just a byproduct of what we do. And people, some people view it and treat it like that. But I have seen a lot, for sure. I'm not sure about a disproportionate. Maybe it's because I am not looking for it. But I don't know. I don't know what the actual... It'd be interesting for GW to do a poll, to do a stat. I don't know how accurate it would be, but if they did, let's say, hypothetically speaking, people that are suffering from various forms of mental illness or physical conditions, and how many people are into the hobby. How many people are into the hobby because it's therapeutic, or heck, even if not, they just simply do it, and they happen to have an ailment that they're suffering with. It'd be interesting to know that stat. I'm sure that stat exists somewhere. I mean, are we the first people to think of that? No. I mean, I'm sure there's statisticians that like, hey, that come up with it's art, as you said, right? There's art therapy. The doctor said to your friend, take up painting, do some painting, that'll help. And was it your friend that chose Warhammer specifically, or did the doctor say do Warhammer?
It would be hilarious if the doctor said do Warhammer, but no. The doctor said just start painting, and he was just like, oh, I don't want to paint a canvas. And I think he used to play Dawn of War, and I think he saw an advert for like Games Workshop come up, and then he walked into a Games Workshop and he was like, I would like some Ultramarines, please. And now he plays Blood Angels.
Oh, okay. That's a chapter I agree with.
It's funny. So he actually recently read the new Uriel Ventress novel. Okay. And so I have this thing. I like doing things for my friends in the hobby. So the Sandman, who's another one of my good friends and another one of the hosts on the Conclave podcast, which I'm really plugging here apparently. So he often says of me that I'm like an annoyingly supportive friend because like I just make them do things. So I ended up sort of like pushing him over the edge, and now he has 8,000 points of Gene Stealer cults.
Wow.
And he attributes him owning that army to me like being supportive enough that he was just like, well, I guess I kind of have to then.
That's a crazy amount. That's a big army.
But yeah, for Rich, when he read the Uriel Ventures novel, he started a small Ultramarines force back again, because Uriel Ventures has like his command squad, and I just happened to have 3 Ultramarines lying around, so I repainted the shoulder edging to the green of the 4th company, and I was just like, there you go, there are some like nice Ultramarines for you. And he was just like, well, where did this come from? Just like, just that. It's cool. I'm just doing a good thing for a friend. I've got a whole bunch of those planned, just because it's fun.
So, okay, going back to Space Marines just for a moment, just switching gears here for a second. As a Space Marines player, what draws you to Space Marines? Why Space Marines? Out of all the factions that exist, Xenos, Imperium, and then out of Imperium, Space Marines specifically. Why? Why Space Marines?
So, this is going to sound like such a stupid thing to say, but so I have, and basically, when Contrast Paint first came out, this was, oh my god, this was 2 years ago now, wasn't it?
About that. Sounds right.
Oh my god, that's weird. Time is weird, man.
I agree.
Just like last year just didn't count. But no, not at all.
No.
But yeah, so basically, I went to a contrast paint testing day at my local hobby shop, which is called another plug. I'm really good at these name drops. Bad Moon Cafe, which if you're ever in England, you should totally come to because it's an amazing place and we can catch up and have a game there. But yeah, so basically, I was at Bad Moon Cafe and I was just testing out these contrast paints, and I was just like, "Oh my god, these are magic!" And I tested out the ironed in yellow on the back of the Lego and Intercessor, and I looked at it, and I was just like, "This is perfect. This is amazing. I've never seen anything like this." And I was completely sold, completely. And so I was just like, but at the time, I only collected Custodies because they will always be my first love.
Yeah.
But then I became involved with Liam, who's now one of the 2 guys at deploymentzone.tv. And at the time, his YouTube channel was called Warhammer. And I was one of Liam's subscribers, and he invited me to come down and film a bat rep with him. And I filmed this bat rep, and Liam I was on the train on the way home, and Liam sent me a WhatsApp, and he was like, "Yo, dude, I want to expand the Warhammer team. I want to create like a team, so it's not just me. Do you want to come on board as like one of the team?" And I was just like, "Yes, obviously. That sounds fantastic." And so yeah, I became one of the 5 guys on Team Warhammer, and it was so much fun. And this was kind of about the same time that the do you know the not indexes, the supplements for the Space Marine chapters.
Okay.
Those had just started coming out.
Okay.
And so we were all just like, well, just for the channel, why doesn't each of us start a Space Marine chapter?
Okay.
So we've got like a selection for the channel. So Brom over in DCTV already has Ultramarines, so that's sorted. I think Chris was going to do Salamanders, and I was just like, you know what? I'm thinking I want to do Imperial Fists because of the ironed in yellow. And so I picked Imperial Fists, and previously, like a month or 2 before that, I had gone on the pilgrimage to Warhammer World with a couple of my buddies in London. And when I was there, I was just like, you know what? I'm at Warhammer World. Of course, I've got to buy something. And I couldn't think of anything more classic than just a box of Intercessors.
Yeah.
And then this is my box of Intercessors that I bought at Warhammer World. You know, like the nostalgia of it.
Yep.
So, yeah, I had this box of Intercessors lying around, and I was just like, well, guess I collect Imperial Fists now. So, yeah, that's how I started the Imperial Fists.
Okay. Yeah, I see that. That's there's a similar story that I have for Chaos. It just happened to go a different way. It was the
really?
gaming club, and there was a number of different gamers, like here locally, right? So a bunch of people collected armies, and Chaos was not one of the armies that they were collecting. There's a few others that were available. Like, I just didn't have any interest in collecting them. But yeah, Chaos was available. I like their aesthetic, and I just picked it up. And like, I love this. This is great. It's kind of like that. It's almost like a revelation when you did the yellow on the back of the leg. That's what I felt too when I saw the Chaos. I was like, okay, this is my army. This is my forever army.
Oh yeah, I 100% agree. I was actually the same with the Custodes. Like that, you just have this moment where you're just like, oh yeah, that's what I want.
Mm-hmm. And with my wife too, when I last year when we were playing during like the first lockdowns and stuff, we're playing at home and making battle reports. At first, she was using my Blood Angels, and I was using Black Legion, and then I introduced her to Sisters of Battle. And then it completely changed. Then she was like, okay, this is the faction that I like. Because she liked the look of the Blood Angels, but she liked the lore of the Sisters and the look of the Sisters. So that completely dominated any desire she had to play anything else. So
nice. It's interesting as well. I've introduced a couple of female friends to the hobby. And they all sort of go down very similar paths, which I think are quite interesting. They all really like the look of stuff in AOS, kind of more than 40k. And of the 40k factions, all of the women I know who start either go straight for Sisters of Battle or Slaanesh Demons. Those are the two ways.
That was another one she was interested in.
Yep, there we go. It's very, very consistent. And I think one of the big reasons for that would be because like they are models that display they're just better female ranges almost. Do you know what I mean? Like,
or just period, right? It's a female ranges. Period.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. Like, I was speaking to actually, it was someone I was dating at the time. But I said to her, all right, I'm into this hobby. Here's the website. Take a look. See what you think. And almost instantly, she replied back to me like, this is a very masculine hobby, isn't it? I was like, why do you say that? And she was like, because all of these models are guys.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh no. we've got some things to do as a community here. Well, Games Workshop has a lot of things to do.
So that's an interesting thing too. Eldar, I find that Eldar is also another pick that seems to be a common choice. I've seen that on the rare occasion that I've seen female gamers do something. That is one of the ones that, and then obviously they choose whatever they want whenever they want. But
yes,
that seems to be more. So here's a question for you, just on that note a little bit, because I've been posting a bit about this because I'm collaborating with a company to make a line of miniatures, and I want to add female variants to the line, because here's an example. Chaos cultists. There are no female cultists. There could very easily be female chaos cultists, right?
Exactly.
They would look awesome.
Yep.
Why aren't there?
Yep.
So
100%.
Okay, that's an easy one, and even lore wise it could make sense, right?
Well, no, it does make sense. Canonically, that has been explored before. If you look at it's a Graham McNeil novel about the Iron Warriors. There's a story where they're attacking this Imperial bastion. Super interesting story. I think it's Storm of Iron. I think that might be it. I read it quite a while ago, but it does go into a lengthy description of an Imperial Guards woman, in this case, who eventually succumbs to the power of chaos, and she becomes a Khorne chaos cultist.
Awesome.
And I mean, like, this stuff exists in the lore. This is a thing. And I think as time goes on, we're going to see that in a lot of the different ranges. Especially with the guard models when those come out.
It's
like,
very easy to do that.
Oh, absolutely. Like, I don't know. Oh God, I've suddenly realized like I don't know like what I'm allowed to say, because like I'm allowed to say this. I'm actually a playtester now, so I do know a bunch of the things that are coming up. But if I start talking about certain things I would like to see, I think like I don't know if that's like breaking the NDA or not.
Well, maybe I could tell you things I would like to see, and you can agree or disagree.
Okay, okay, we'll see. But I mean, like,
It's not telling, right? Because you don't. I don't know what you know. All I know is
I think I can. I was going to say, I think I can just speak quite more generally and say I would like to see more representation of women in the hobby, whether that be Imperial Guard, where I think there is a definite lack, or just like anything human scaled.
Yeah.
Like, for example, why is there no Eldar female Farseer model? Like, why isn't that a thing?
Right. Instead of just the Banshees, right? Like there's...
I mean, yeah, Banshees and about 20% of the Guardians.
Guardians, yeah, that's right. There's some Guardians.
Pretty much it.
Yeah. There's Harlequin. There's a number there. And I think a Dark Drukhari as well. There's a bunch.
Yeah.
But
Drukhari are good.
Now, Tau is a weird one, right? Because it's like they all kind of look weird, so it's hard to tell. But they could easily do female there.
Technically there's one. But because we know what female Tau look like because of Shadow Sun, you could very easily slip in a few bareheaded female models.
Yep.
Or just female bareheads into a Tau like sprue. Like that would be quite an easy thing to do.
Very easy. Yeah.
Precisely. Yeah.
What about orcs though? That's a curious one. That's a strange one. I think that's a strange one because orcs are. I mean, what is there? What are they? They're plants.
Yeah, orcs are essentially genderless. However, they are coded to be masculine, to be male.
Yeah.
In the way that they are portrayed, etc. And so, yeah, I mean, you've just got like a hyper masculine coded faction there. So yeah, I think it's something to be aware of when designing everything else. I think rather than focus on them, because I don't think orcs need new models. I will say that, but I don't think we need to see like female orcs. I just think we need to look at them in the context of everything else and say, well, why aren't there more female gene stealer cults? You know,
yeah,
like why are there no female acolyte hybrids? You know, stuff like that.
Yeah. Necrons, that'd be an interesting one. I think that'd be actually hard to tell.
Ooh, they're actually doing that.
Are they? Female characters? Probably characters more so than warriors.
Well, yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, so this is the thing. They mentioned quite recently the what's it called? The latest character model that came out at the time, the Chronomancer, I think.
Okay.
They specifically mentioned that model is a she. And
okay.
It's really nice to see that because it gives more opportunities for creating more interesting narrative.
Yep.
So like one of the things I look at when I'm making narrative for my armies are what already has been explored and what doesn't, or what does exist and what doesn't exist, and why the things that exist are there. For example, a really good example of this is Necrons. Why are there no Necron children?
Well, they're dead souls, right? In robot bodies?
Precisely. So that leads on to two conclusions. Either all the children got, during the process of biotransference, got put into adult bodies, or they killed all the children.
Oh, that's dark.
Which is super duper dark. But it's just like, right, okay, understanding the context of these things and of their society leads you to like go down different narrative paths for the army that you're creating.
Right.
So like I love that kind of stuff. So for example, by saying that this character is female, even though, you know, for the Necrons, saying this character is female, even though it doesn't present that outwardly. Okay, well then what were her relationships with other characters from other dynasties? That was she married to someone who ran off to like be in another dynasty? Did she have kids? How did she react to the process of biotransference? Like all of these kinds of things. And so yeah, it's really interesting to like go down these narrative paths, even though like the ones I mentioned are like super duper dark.
Yeah, I mean that's so funny. That's really cool though, and I love that, especially if it's translated on the tabletop somehow. in a campaign
exactly.
form. That's my favorite.
So it's funny you should mention that. I don't know if you've got any experience with this, but I'm trying to play more Crusade at the moment. I don't know. How have you found the Crusade system so far, if you've been able to play it?
I played it a few campaigns now.
Okay.
I enjoy it. I enjoy I like the fact that you have this large army and you can draw certain units from, and you can change it up even though it's part of the same army. That's fun. I like the upgrading. I like how there's different levels of degrees of objectives during the game, because there's some things that you can, even if you lose a game, you don't lose a game because you're still progressing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fun.
That's cool.
I like how they've recently introduced kind of narrative backdrops to armies, like Drukhari, for example. There's like this town is it Gamora? I think it is, or it's someplace. Basically, you own an area, and you build it up, and you get different perks depending on how well you build it up. And so, that's cool.
That is fantastic.
That's super cool, right? I remember doing that against Skari, and it was just fun to see, right? Like, he would get excited knowing that his one character could roll on something to upgrade in that, not having anything to do with the actual mission at hand or winning the mission. That's the part he was excited about, which was great because that made me excited to see his excitement. And meanwhile, I was just trying to keep my guys alive, and because he's a much better player than me, and he knew my army better than I knew it. So it was just basically him experimenting with stuff as I was trying not to die.
Oh man, there's a reason he does coaching.
There is a reason he does coaching, yes. But it was so much fun playing with him because it was in that system. First off, it was awesome. First time I did it was with orcs, and that was another narrative-heavy backdrop where they were corn orcs. They weren't just orcs; they were corn orcs. And
that's cool.
There was a reason why they were following corn, and there's different recruits that I would get for different reasons, and it zero power influence. It was like, I'm not getting these guys because they're strong, because really I have no idea what they do. I'm just getting them because they look cool, and let's give them a narrative flavor. Let's add them to the army.
That's so cool. I have so much time for that. When it comes to doing narrative things, I think I'm a little bit famous is the wrong word. I would say like I have a certain amount of notoriety for the way that I do narrative, especially actually for both my armies. I don't know if I've talked about this with you before.
I don't recall offhand. What are you referring to?
So I'll go through my custodies first, and basically what I do is there's a company called Versatile Terrain. Really in there with the plugs today, aren't I? Jesus. They do these 3D printed nameplates. I don't know if you've seen them before.
Yes, I've heard of that company, and I've seen the plates.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they so basically, I have individually named every single one of my custodies.
Awesome.
Because there's only 20 models in the army, so
yeah,
of course you're going to give each one a name
for sure.
And so they all have these 3D printed nameplates. And so not only do I give them all names, but I actually keep a spreadsheet which has their roll of honor on it. So the backstory behind the custodies is they gain names and titles depending on great deeds they do, or things that they're good at. And these names are usually taken from ancient heroes, myths, and monsters from Earth's ancient past.
Yep.
Now, it would be the case that because the custodians recruit from all over Terra, they would take their names from cultures all over Terra.
Cool.
So I spent a really, really long time looking up, Aztec gods and Mongolian demons and, all that kind of stuff. And I have like a spreadsheet full of these names.
That's awesome.
It's so gratifying when it's all like laid out. But I keep this spreadsheet, and under each entry for each custodian, it has a picture of the model. It then has their name and then what that name means, like a bit like a blurb about the legend.
Yep.
And then underneath, it has a list of cool things that model has done on the table.
Okay.
Because there's only 20 models. I can keep track of that.
Yeah.
So I have one of my custodians. I think it's Osiris, actually. Osiris or actually, it might have been Nebuchadnezzar. And I was at the Fun and Fluff competition in London, run by the London Wargaming Guild, and amazing competition. If you're out there, you should totally go.
Another plug.
But oh yeah, oh my god, I'm so bad for this. Yeah, so basically, it was me, my custodian versus a Grey Knight army, and obviously, all custodians of this 4-up invulnerable save. So if you could just make the save, they'll survive anything.
Mm-hmm.
And so that model stood in front of my shield captain. This is 8th edition at the time, so you could do that. And shielded him from the firepower of an entire Grey Knight army. And meant that my shield captain survived and was able to keep that objective.
Wow.
And I was just like, yep, that is going in your roll of honor, sir.
Wow. But that's cool because you're able to remember that from how many games ago, from how many years ago.
Oh my god, like 2 years at this point.
That's really cool. And I love that because that's something you've done completely on your own, and what you've done with your army. I think that is the quintessential wargaming way, as a true hobbyist and wargamer way of playing the game. You dive into the lore. There's flavor with each character. Little things matter. They're recorded. Like that's rare. You're a rare breed when it comes to that. Like not
Thank
every,
you.
like there's a lot of people. They have a cool lore and backstory for their army, right? But to actually go and record each heroic deed for every model, that's the first. I got to admit, that's the first that I've heard of that. I'm sure it exists out there, but this is the first that I've heard of it. So that is really cool. That's very awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's interesting as well because like I think I'm a little bit spoiled because I'm obviously part of DZTV, and the DZTV guys are some of the most narrative players you can find out there. And so I'll take like snippets of what Winters is doing or what Say Hi Paul is doing. I'll be like, oh, that's a really good idea. I can incorporate that. And that's actually something going on to my Imperial Fist, actually. That's kind of one of the things I'm trying to do. And it's interesting that you mentioned sort of like that kind of narrative as well, because I think when you're creating an army, there are two narrative paths that you can go on. And it's funny that I'm going on one with the Custodies and the other with the Imperial Fists. And with the Custodies, the path is the emergent narrative. So the narrative appears because of things that happen during games.
Right. You forge the narrative, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
See, that's another plug there for a very famous podcast. I love Paul Murphy. He's such a legend.
Yeah. I agree.
But yeah. So you have the emergent narrative coming out of that way. So things that happen on the table. And then sort of like the almost pre-scripted narrative. And that's something I'm doing for my Imperial Fists. And the way that I'm doing that is by kind of the paint scheme, but also with project management software. So I got to tell you about this. I'm the most anally organized person possibly in this hobby. It's so bad. I don't know if you've ever heard of a project management software called Trello.
Nope.
Okay, so basically what it is, it's a way of tracking your progress of doing certain things.
Uh-huh.
You have these columns. You have these columns in the program, and then each column has different cards in them. And so what I've done is every column for my Imperial Fist, I've got HQ, elites, troops, and then within that column, each card is a unit. So first card, first squad, intercessors. Second card, second squad, intercessors, etc. And in each card, sorry, I'm going real into the minutiae and the detail here. In each card, I've written the backstory of not only the sergeant of the squad, but also when when Astartes squad's combat squad, so they go into each different half, I always wondered, who's leading the other half of the squad?
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so Yeah, every single squad that can combat squad in my army has the sergeant and a veteran. And the
Nice.
veteran is the one who leads the other half.
Cool.
And the veteran, obviously, as veterans do, gets a white helmet.
Sweet. So they're painted
So yeah,
as such.
that's the thing. Exactly. And so the veteran and the sergeant in every squad each get a full backstory. I need to actually go into it and start coming up with it a little bit more. I mean, they also get nameplates. I'm waiting on those.
That's
but
really cool. That's really, really cool. I
Yeah.
love that idea. Well, okay, one more time. What's the name of that company that does the nameplates?
Versatile terrain.
That's right. Okay. I should reach out to them.
Incidentally. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Weirdly as well, the guy who runs that company, a guy called Keith, based in England, super nice guy. He does versatile terrain on the side. His actual job is he's like a 3D effect artist, and he worked on Star Wars. Legit, I was just like, you did what?
Like as a 3D artist? Like as
Yeah,
what?
yeah.
Yeah. Like is it?
Yeah, he's
Okay.
credited
Like, is
in
it
the credits of
animator?
Star
Like,
Wars.
as what?
I think I don't know, like 3D art. So I guess maybe he like, I don't know, helped animate battle scenes or something. I have no idea. You have to ask him.
That's cool. That is cool.
Super cool. But yeah, I use his products for everything. But
You know, it's funny. I thought about that in the past, about those plates, specifically those plates, and doing something cool like this. But it was always in the context of like a kill team or a narrative campaign. It wasn't in the context of my regular everyday army.
an entire army.
Can you imagine that? Can you imagine Blood Angels?
Oh yeah,
2,500 points of
Oh,
Blood
no.
Angels, everyone named.
dude, I've got better than that. Again, another friend of mine, host on the Conclave 40K podcast, my friend Adam. So he is just his favorite army at the moment is Sisters of Battle, and he just decided, you know what, I'm going to add some flavor to this army. Every single sister is going to have a name and a nameplate,
Amazing.
and that's a horde army.
Yes, it is. That's amazing, though.
Yeah, literally. I can't wait for him to finish that project. But you know, I was talking to him about it, and he's doing sort of a similar thing with me with the names, because obviously different orders recruit from like kind of all over the place. So he spent a long time looking up girls' names from like Africa and Asia and America and just like all kinds of places just to get that kind of like diversity.
Yeah.
So I can't wait to see it. I think it's gonna be amazing.
So here's a question then. With those nameplates, completely organic route we've taken this conversation. Well, with the nameplates, do you like put in an order and you put the names you want printed and he sends you printed? Is that essentially what happens? Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
Okay. Is that the only
Super
option
easy.
that he offers?
So there's a whole bunch of stuff that he does. I know he does like custom ones if you like really want. Because I've seen a few people use these nameplates on like display bases for like Primarchs and stuff.
Yes.
But yeah, there's like you can add symbols and like all kinds of stuff. What I've started doing actually is it's got the nameplate itself, but on some of them you can have like a bit on top of the name, and I use that to put the rank. So it will say Sergeant and then the actual name underneath.
Awesome.
And it just looks super cool. It's super cool. I love it.
It's like this little, it's just like a little divot that goes up higher above the name.
Yeah. Like just like that. I believe there's an example on my Instagram. God, I'm famous in the conclave for just like name dropping. Like, but even for me, I'm name dropping a lot today.
No, it's cool. That's a really, really cool idea, and you've inspired me to do something like that. That would be super cool.
Oh my god. Yes.
But the thing is, here's the next question then. Do I do that with, because I've been thinking about making a new Space Marine, a custom Space Marine chapter. And I've also been thinking about making a custom Chaos Space Marine Legion. So both.
Okay.
And I would love to do that. Going each route.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is interesting. I love talking about this. Let's dig into this. So, I'd be interested to get your opinion on this. But when starting a new chapter, or actually no, Chaos Legion, did you mean actual Legion or warband of a legion?
Okay. Probably warband of a legion. Let's face it, right? Warband
Okay.
of world leaders. It would probably
Okay.
be something like that.
So how were you going to create that narrative?
Um, well, okay. So I've already started one, and
Hmm.
it was actually incidentally another name drop, the Nova Open
Hmm.
Charitable Foundation Army, the World Eaters Army right now. Uh,
Nice.
which here, you know what? Here, let's just for fun, I'm gonna pull it up.
Oh,
So
you're going to pull this up on the screen.
yeah, so you guys can see it.
Excellent.
Here it
I love
is.
this. Oh,
It's the
hello.
Crimson
Nope,
Hunters
that's
here.
my Instagram.
Here, 1 second.
I mean, please follow me on Instagram. Oh, I see.
All right, so this
Interesting.
is the Crimson Hunters, and so I made up the narrative for this army, and basically it's
Okay.
a Lord Discordant who's on the planet of Blackwater.
Hmm.
It's just this kind of in the fringes of space kind of planet, right? And the Imperial Fist go there
Hmm.
for their yearly tradition, the Blooded Fist tradition, where they basically it's like a trial of blood, and so they kind
Hmm.
of interrupted. Uh, Gorak is the name of the leader of this Lord Discordant, and so
Hmm.
he was heavily wounded. He escapes to a mountain pass, and
Hmm.
sorry, I'm getting distracted, like thumbing through this stuff. Here, actually, let me just read it. So Gorak, Crimson
Okay.
Hunter, once a feared Chaos Space Marine Lord Discordant, vying for Khorne's ascension, whose reputation for sowing seeds of disruption in vulnerable machine spirits, is now a dispossessed shell, barely wielding arcane control of his hell-stalking hull of demonic shame. Before his days of redemption, the Great Rift made planetfall easy for Gorak to lead his warband of warp-possessed constructs and attack the fair world of Blackwater. Unfortunately, his timing couldn't be worse as neophytes were being recruited into the Crimson Fists as part of the annual Festival of the Bloodied Fist. Uh, and so he's trapped on this planet and he goes into this mountain pass, which has a high pocket of psychic energy, which is ironic because he's Khorne, right? But it ties in really nicely to the mad mega bullies of the fish folk, which is the Khorne orcs that I have as well. And Whispers of the Warp tell Gorak to
Hmm.
find the Mawblade, which is an ancient relic. And with the Mawblade, he's able to have enough power to defeat the Crimson Fists. And
Okay.
basically, it's a revenge mission. It's a revenge motivation. Uh,
Interesting. So it's interesting. So with this army, I mean, if also I've suddenly just realized something. I've got the stream up on like one side of my screen and us on the other side. You've got it labeled here as the video is the best Blood Angel army discussion with Sultan.
like on YouTube?
Yeah, it's the video title.
Oh, that's the strangest thing because I updated it on Restream. Doesn't make sense.
Indeed.
Look at this.
But
See, why
yeah.
play Space
Anyway,
Marines and Custodes? Discussion with Quipster. It updated. Oh, well. Okay. Anyway,
oh, that's
you are
fine.
not
Sort it out
Sultan.
later.
You're a
But
Quipster. For those who
indeed,
don't
but
know.
yes,
Okay, anyway.
I was gonna say about this particular army. I mean, I would go super nitty gritty into the backstory of these guys. So I think every narrative stems from its leader. So with this particular leader character, I would start asking questions. Was he one of the original World Eaters? Was he one of the original World Eaters, or was he recruited from another Renegade chapter or still Loyalist chapter later on after the Heresy? Then, if he was a captain during the Heresy, what company was he part of? Did he know Khan? What was his relationship with Khan and Angron like at the time? How does that affect his decisions moving forward? Because you said he's been exposed to a bunch of warp energy. Okay, was he looking for it in the first place because he saw the power of chaos in a way that was always denied by other members of his legion?
Uh-huh.
And then going from that, okay, say he was a captain of one of the assault companies in the World Eaters. What was he doing at the Siege of Terror? Was he even there? Who did he fight? Does he have relations with other chapters? This kind of stuff, I think, really, really adds something to an army. I don't know. Are these questions that you enjoy answering, or is it just me going off on a wild
this
tangent?
Is great. This is adding so much flavor to it, much more than I've done so far. Like this small blurb that I made, which by the way wasn't the full blurb. The full blurb's on the Nova Open website. But that's great. See, that's what a whole narrative campaign can be based around, which is cool. That's what excites me.
Exactly.
And so
I love talking about this stuff.
I envision the warband, we'll call it, to be a combination of Khorne and Tzeentch. So
interesting.
Because of the warp energy, right? So Psychers are allowed to be in the army, and it's not a Khorne-centric army because there's elements of the psychic powers that I enjoy, but I never use because I'm always fielding world eaters, right?
Excellent.
So I don't do it unless I'm fielding thousands.
So then it's the case of, to what degree are these world eaters embracing the powers of the warp? Are they doing it reluctantly, or are they just like, no, actually, warp powers are kind of great, let's do that? Like, what do you think? I'm
thinking it would be one of three things. It'll either be, yes, this is great, let's do it. It'll either be, no, absolutely not, I hate it. And then it's, this is tempting, I don't want to, but it's pulling me towards it. So you're in one of three camps.
Oh, there's a fourth option. I don't want to do this, but I have to for X reason.
Ah, okay. I like that too.
What if say this warband leader has actually a very strong allegiance to the World Eaters as a whole and as a legion, but I mean to the degree that he wants to reform the World Eaters Legion and can only do that by having some sort of artifact where he can, like, I don't know, teleport them into the same place.
You know what we should do? Okay, after we jump off this call, we need to develop a narrative campaign.
Yes.
I think that would be sweet. That would be amazing. And just to like tell the story, right? And it doesn't have to be this massive thing. It could be like a warband sized, kind of crusade sized, which I believe are better because you can relate to them more, right? When you get down to like specific characters and their motivations, you can follow it a lot easier, and it means more when things happen.
I like it a lot.
And for those who are watching, what do you guys think about this idea? Should Quipster and I team up and put our heads together, or mostly it's going to be Quipster Factory awesome ideas, and I'll be like catching as much as I can, because you were born for this, man. You create this stuff. It's what you do. It actually feels like you can't help it with the.
I love it
with the organizational. When you were describing like you're organizing things and you're writing things down and like the record keeping and like you were. I'm not diagnosed OCD. I always make a joke about it that I have it. I probably shouldn't unless I do have it, but even still I shouldn't joke about it. But I do certain things, and there's certain things like I count my teeth with my tongue, and there's certain ways that I like to see things and do things and have them done.
Yeah.
Is that, do you feel that too?
I think I am sort of leaning that way. I've never been tested for OCD as such, but I'm pretty sure I meet a lot of the requirements, for sure. Although actually, now that we're talking about narrative stuff, a buddy of mine, Reza, has now appeared in the chat on YouTube. Reza Prime, you should check out his Instagram. Great dude. Again, another host of the Conclave. I make it sound like everyone is a host on the Conclave. It's only 4 of us. But so me and Reza actually did a really interesting thing, because one of the conversions that he's done for his army is he's got these Blood Angels, and one of his Blood Angels has a Custodes shield, which he's using as a storm shield. And we actually came up with a bit of narrative for that, because obviously I have custodies. And so now custodies, my Shadowkeeper custodies are the custodies that gifted his chapter master that shield, and I'm going to get the model off him, and I'm going to paint it as, you know, my shields are painted. And originally the lore that sort of we came up with was that my custodies gave him the shield because it's got like a listening device in it, and it's a way of them keeping track of the chapter.
Yep.
But
sneaky.
I think like it was very sneaky. I was just like, But Reza said to me like, I kind of don't want that because it makes my guys out to be fools. I was like, that's a good point. So I think instead it's a show of friendship between the custodies and this chapter, whose name I can't remember right now. But I love doing that with friends, just like having like bits and pieces of our armies, just like have that, like those narrative links.
Yes. Yeah, no, I love that. How there's tie-ins.
Yes.
That all contribute to this massive narrative, I guess.
Exactly. I'm really psyched about this warband campaign though. I'm thinking in my head, like, when it comes to narrative stuff and like campaigns in general, there's so much you can do on like an individual unit level. There's so much flavor you can give, especially I think in a Chaos Warband. I mean, have you read Aaron Dembski-Bowden's Night Lords trilogy?
Not the Night Lords, no. Just Black Legion, Talon of Horus, Betrayer. We're going back into Heresy times.
Good books.
Yeah, like those are the ones that I've read. You know what it is? I think it's because it's the Night Lords and them as a legion don't necessarily. No, to me, and this is a very judgmental, because in my mind, the Night Lords just a bunch of murderer, like mean dudes, right? Like I don't care about reading about that, but I'm sure it's a lot more nuanced than that. I'm sure there are reasons for their behaviors.
Dude, I can tell you now. This is actually something Graham McNeil brought up on a podcast. I can't remember which, but he was talking about Uriel Ventress. And basically, one of the things he said about character design that makes characters interesting is how they don't conform to certain archetypes.
Okay.
Like, for example, with Uriel Ventress, one of the things that makes him interesting is the fact that he doesn't follow the Codex Astartes as rigidly as other Ultramarines do. He deviates. He does his own thing. He is a creative guy. He's a creative commander. And so him breaking against the archetype is fascinating to read about, which is why the Night Lords Omnibus is so good, because the whole point about the main character, Talos, is that he always wanted to be a hero, but he's stuck in a legion of absolute, I can't swear, but people who are not heroes. Interesting. Okay. So yeah, that central contention is what makes it super interesting.
That's cool.
And like one of the things I think, because we're sort of going back to the beginning of what we were talking about. One of the things that one of my upcoming projects that I have planned is I am actually going to start a Chaos Army.
Nice.
And that Chaos Army is going to be Night Lords.
Really?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. The most murdering, uncouth, terrible people you could possibly imagine. And I've gone from like good boy Custodes and Ultra and Imperial Fist to no, let's do Night Lords now.
Complete 180.
Yeah. And it's just because like I have a lot of I'm not nostalgia, that's the wrong word, but a lot of love for the Night Lords as a legion because they're so bad at so many things Astartes are supposed to be good at. Like what there's at one point sorry, I have to click my jaw. There's a point at which one of the Night Lords it's in one of the books, he goes on this random like speech about like, when was the last time we ever stood up to anyone in a fair fight? We are murderers and butchers, but we are not warriors because we have never, ever stood against an opponent that we knew we couldn't face. And you're just like, awesome. Oh, wow, okay. Damn, just tell us how you really feel.
It's a moment of self-reflection.
Exactly. And so like I love like that kind of characterization. And also, one thing that's really interesting about the Night Lords, they are the most consistently written Space Marine Legion.
Huh.
All of the other legions, it's all over the place how they are written sometimes, especially their Primarchs.
Uh-huh.
I mean, best example of that is the Lionel Johnson. His writing is all over the place.
Uh-huh.
Like, especially the first two books, they're barely about him.
Okay.
And like, it's because it's multiple authors and they take it off in different directions.
Yeah.
Whereas Conrad Kurz, is so consistently written by everyone who's written his character.
Interesting.
That really appeals to me. Although again, a different tangent about the Lion quickly. Have you read the latest Primarch novel about the Lion?
No, I have not.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. This isn't a spoiler. I would never do that to people, but there is a bit in the book that shows you the intent, like the way his mind works, and it's fascinating because basically he's confronted by one of the remembrances in the fleet. She's like a photographer or something, and she essentially turns traitor, and she confronts the Lion, and she says to him, "You don't even know who I am." And he looks at her and he goes, "Yes," whatever her name, we'll call her Jane. She was like, "Yes, Jane, I know exactly who you are. You went to this school, you did these things, and I've seen your images of these different things. Do you honestly think I would have allowed anyone in this fleet without knowing exactly who they are?" And she's just standing there looking at him like, "Oh my God, he's known me. He's known all about me for this entire time." And it just goes into the way that he is so subtle in the way that he does everything and so strategic and so smart. He literally looks at every angle of every situation, and he's never credited for it because he doesn't make a thing about it.
That's interesting. That's I
love it.
I learned, which book was it that I learned that Space Marines have eidetic memories? I think it was Talon Horus. Might have been that one where Abaddon, he just remembered everything.
Yep.
And then that was
actually
Kaon who was describing that, and actually what?
Oh my God. I was gonna say there's an amazing bit in I think it's not is it Talon of Horus? Yeah, it's in Talon of Horus, not Black Legion. Have you ever played Skyrim?
Yep.
Or okay, cool. I don't know if like I am 100% certain that Aaron Dembski Bowden has also played so much Skyrim because there's a bit. I'm gonna say this isn't a spoiler, but there's a bit where they're on the Vengeful Spirit, and some people are talking to Abaddon, and he's basically like taking them through like the ship, and he's just like, "Oh yeah, so I was just doing this," and like essentially they walk into a room that's full of trophies, and they're explaining it. It's just like random piles of like esoteric looking weapons and like piles of like things like overflowing from chests from essentially Abaddon's adventures, and he's just all brought it back to this central location. And you're just thinking like, hang on a sec, this sounds like what everyone did with the house in Skyrim. You just brought all of your junk back to some central location, and it's just like a house full of crap. And then the next thing he says was he's like one of the characters walks over to like this like sort of alchemy kind of table, and he's just like, "What were you trying to do here?" And he was like, "Oh yes, I was trying to mix up the stuff of like warp stuff." And you're just like, hang on a sec, is he just screwing around with alchemy because he's run out of quests to do like everyone did in Skyrim? What? I love it. He's just trying to level up the alchemy stat because he's run out of everything, like the main quest line.
Interesting. That's
Sorry, I had to do that.
That's an interesting observation. Oh, hello.
Yeah, sorry, my friend Dom is in the background. He's just gonna be chilling. Hi, Dom.
Hey, Dom. It looked like he was just gonna go down for a nap. It looked kind of funny.
I think he might.
Oh, dude. Well, lots of cool stuff today. Here, let's do a chaos comment bomb.
Let's do it.
And here it is. Boom, boom, boom. Copy link. And here it is. So I'm gonna post it here. So for some reason, OBS didn't do what I wanted it to, so I'm going to have to do it manually.
Oh yeah! Oh my god! Sorry about this, Reza. Reza just put in the chat on YouTube the name of his chapter. They're called the Forlorn Angels. Probably soon to be the Forlorn Templars when that codex drops.
And that's apologies, I was doing two things. Is that your custodian?
That's fine. No, that's my friend Reza and his chapter of successor Blood Angels. It's because I completely forgot what the name was earlier.
Ah, okay. Okay, well,
Are you trouble in OBS?
I'm looking for the chat here. Oh, here it is. Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna post a link here on Twitch, and then there is one more on Facebook, which I'll also just visit really quick.
Excellent.
Yeah, usually it all ties into OBS, but it just wasn't working today. Didn't feel like working.
I've turned up and everything is broken.
I find with OBS, it's like if you don't log into it regularly and then you do all of a sudden, it just gets mad at you.
Everything breaks.
Yeah.
Completely forgot. Actually, while we're doing that for the chat, I'd be interested to know, and I think this is something that comes up all the time. If you were trying to introduce someone to the hobby, what book would you give them first? I'd be very interested to know in the chat what people's answers to this are.
Okay.
Bear in mind, I can only see the YouTube one.
So here I got the Twitch and Facebook up, so I can relay some of those answers. So if you were to try to get somebody in the hobby, what books would you recommend they read? Is that it?
Yes, exactly. I mean, I know my answer. I mean, what would you pick?
Oh, Black Legion.
Really?
Yeah, that's what I would choose.
Why?
Because I enjoyed it immensely. Well, what came first, Talon of Horus or Black Legion? I think Talon of Horus came first. So
Talon of Horus, yeah.
Yeah, so Talon of Horus it would be. Yeah, I would do that.
Okay. Interesting. One of the first answers I've seen on YouTube is Eisenhorn, and I actually fully agree. I think Eisenhorn is the way to go.
Why?
So, I would specifically say not the Horus Heresy. And this is something that's been echoed quite a lot in, say, the Independent Characters podcast, which unfortunately isn't a thing anymore, which I'm really sad about. But the reason for that is because the Horus Heresy kind of has a lot of assumed knowledge on the part of the reader. They expect you to know certain things. Like, the main conceit of the first bit of the book of Horus Rising is that you know that Horus almost slays the Emperor. And so if you don't know that, then the beginning of the book is really confusing, because you're just like, wait, hang on, why is the Horus doing this? Who's the Emperor? What's going on here? Like, you have no context to understand what is being said, or you have no context to understand the importance of certain events. And so I think a really good way of building context is by reading the later books. So Eisenhorn is probably the best example, just because it's very easy to read, it's very entertaining, and it touches on a lot of different areas, like how the Imperium kind of actually works. Mm-hmm. And that's a touchstone for a whole bunch of other novels.
Interesting.
And so that's what I would say. Maybe beyond that, I'm going to be a little bit biased and say something like Gaunt's Ghosts. Again, fantastic series, very easy to read, and I think that's one of the most important things. If you're trying to get a new person in, you want to make sure that they're not like completely overwhelmed. You want them to like go to the next thing and go to the next thing. So I think Gaunt's Ghosts is the way to go for that.
How jargon heavy would you say these books are?
Very light.
So comparatively speaking, it's not super, like, you got to know.
You don't have to know a lot. No. And like, the thing is as well, the context of what these books are dealing with. So, for example, with Eisenhorn, it goes into depth explaining kind of what everything is.
Cool.
in a way that a lot of other books kind of don't.
Right.
And that's even better in Gaunt's Ghosts, because it's essentially just normal soldiers versus other normal soldiers, and then they also explain what chaos is.
Right.
So yeah, I think it's quite easy to come to grips with.
Genuine good starting place that's told from a relatable perspective.
Precisely.
Cool.
Yeah, because it's really easy to go straight for the Space Marines, because Space Marines are cool, but I think if you build up to Space Marines, it gives them greater context, and you understand the power level as well.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it's like, oh yeah, Space Marines are strong. You don't know how strong until you see them come up against normal people.
Yeah. How one can take out like 100.
Yeah, easily.
Yeah. Well, okay, so let's do this Chaos Comment Bomb. I kind of tripped over it before, but now that we're on here, let's do it. So if you haven't participated in a Chaos Comment Bomb, this is what it is. I'm going to post a link in the chat. And that chat link is, I'm going to do it a number of times so it's unmistakable. And that'll bring you to a YouTube video. On that YouTube video, you'll leave a comment. Just let them know that Dave and Quipster say hi from the Shrine of Chaos. It'll be a block of comments when you see it. So just leave a comment like that. In this case, this was recommended by Quipster. This is Liam Dempsey's channel. And this is his latest video. So if you watch his stuff, awesome. If not, check him out. And we do it just for fun factor. Just really pure fun factor. That's why we do Chaos Comment Bombs. And it's a way of giving, I don't want to say giving back. I don't know if that's necessarily accurate, but just a fun thing to do. I like doing it.
It's always fun. I love it. As well for Liam. Like, Liam is a fantastic human being. I know you've had a lot of discussions with him over the last few months. But so for everyone watching the stream who doesn't know who Liam is the other half of deploymentzone.tv, because there's Winters, SEO, and Liam. And Liam currently has a full-time job. So he is sort of like the puppet master behind the scenes a little bit. He doesn't do as much like on camera because he just doesn't have the time. But he like manages the website, does all the customer complaints or like customer service stuff, and a lot of the behind the scenes things. So people don't necessarily know his face as much as they should. And so yeah, anytime I can, I'm just like, go watch Liam's stuff because his stuff is really cool. I mean, this is also how we became friends, because I love camera gear, I love tech, and so does Liam. And so we ended up just nerding out about camera stuff and tech. And this is why Liam has the most ridiculous level of production quality for his live streams that I've ever seen. He's using cinema cameras. Yeah. It's just like, this is like hilariously unnecessary, but I am so here for it.
That's so true. I've seen some his stuff, and whenever I do, it's like, wow, that is so so crisp looking. It's so, the eye candy is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's so unnecessary, but so amazing. Like, I agree. It's overkill. It's absolutely overkill for internet video. Like, he could shoot. He could make TV shows. Like, he could. He absolutely easily could. Yeah, easily. But he's a great guy, and I'll add to that because he's the one that introduced me to a lot of the other YouTubers. Heck, I wouldn't have met you had it not been for him, because it's through osmosis. Yeah. It's because of him that I communicated more with Winters, and it's because I communicated with Winters as he got me in touch with you. And he got me in touch with a whole bunch of other YouTubers and guests on the Shrine and collaborations. So it's awesome. Like, he is the grease. He is definitely more behind the scenes, right? You don't see him a whole lot, but he's definitely one of those movers and shakers behind the scenes. Absolutely.
He really is. It's such a funny thing as well. I think him and Tanya, so the War Mistress, are like the two most well-connected people in the hobby. They just know everyone.
Just know everyone, yeah. Yeah, they know a lot. And that's cool, because they know... I feel like they know everyone. Everyone from
Yeah.
big personalities to the people that can get you stuff. Like if we were in prison, you would need to know them.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Absolutely.
they can get you stuff. They can get favors done
Anything-
for you.
Anything from like chocolate and shoelaces to like a shank. Liam's your boy.
So it's been a pleasure, Quipster. Again, for those who are watching
Absolutely.
live or after the fact, I've included links to his Instagram and YouTube and his DZTV. So check out those links if you haven't done so already. Always a pleasure, my man. You're welcome back anytime. And when you start your Chaos Warband, I'd love to have you back on the shrine so we can talk about it more.
Absolutely. Always happy to come back on.